Yeah. So one of the things what you'll be seeing in the company is like as we were seeing, mostly we were working on how to create jobs, how to create nodes, configuration, working, all those things. But what will happen sometimes if you see this, what are these? These are nothing but all the jobs that we have created. Like this, you will be creating so many jobs, and it's not only you, so many others also can access the same Jenkins and they'll be working on this instance of the installation. So what will happen if there are so many jobs that has been created, everything will be listed here. So ultimately at one point of time, you'll not be interested to just see your page being so huge where you have to scroll to just go to your particular job, because it is trying to display everything. So for that, what we have in Jenkins is called as views, wherein whatever that you're trying to see is actually something called as view. View is nothing but a dashboard kind of stuff, a simple dashboard wherein you can choose which job that you want to see into it and what and all are the options that you want to see in this. Okay, so for that you don't have to do anything special. So if you see, by default it will be under a view called all. Okay, suppose if you want to change it for a particular user and you want to go to that only, then go here, just simply click on this plus mark and it will create a new view. Okay, when you're trying to create a view, you'll not be getting this option because I have installed one plugin. I'll show you what is it. But other than that, by default, you will be seeing only the list view. So in the list view, if I just say, for example, so it'll ask you something like this. Now, if you go deep into it and see what it is nothing but options where you can pick what jobs you want to see, what jobs you don't want to see. Suppose you want to see only disabled jobs or only enabled jobs, you can choose. And instead of that, suppose if you want to say that, okay, I want to see only these jobs out of this, whatever it is present. So you can pick like, okay, I want this, I want this. Suppose if you don't even want to pick up like this, you can use a regular expression. You can simply say something like, if I say project star, then it will take all those jobs which is starting with PRO and ending with anything else. So like this, you can choose a certain group of projects which you can pick up to just see only that whenever you go to the Jenkins page. And further, in that it gives you the columns wherein what and all are the related values that you want to see for that. Okay, suppose if you see this weather and all is the default thing, it will come. I don't want, but I want to see what is the status, the last success, when was it last failure, when was the last time that it ran and how much time it took. And you will have a quick build button so that you don't have to always go to the Jenkins, then the jobs, inside the job, your particular job, and click that. So you can have options like this. And once you click, you see, until now you were getting all, right? Now you have an option of test. So why this is used is because there might be multiple groups using multiple people using. So in order for you to quickly know what is your job and to work only onto that, you can just quickly create views like this. And this is what they'll be doing, because if they are asking to work, they will give you a page reference like this. They will give you this path. So if you go into it, you will be actually seeing only the list of jobs on this you should be working. Suppose if you're working for a particular product, right? The same job can be run for different products that can be done. So in that case, what we can do is we can segregate groups like this or views like this, wherein all those jobs which is related only to that particular product, you can group it and you can give it like this, so that if someone wants, they should go only inside this and click this job, so that only that related product will be working. Okay, so in that case, we can segregate. Now, sometimes what it can happen is you can have nested view. So when I say nested view, a view inside view, what do you mean by that? Is take a simple example. Now you have a job. Okay, say that you have a simple test job or some build job. Now you might want to do, or you might want to run this job for a product, whatever product it is. Now, for the same product, you want to run it once for test instance and one for production instance. So in that case, there should be again two kind of jobs for the same product. So in that case, what you might have to have separate folders for that again internally. That is nested folders or folder inside folder. You can have one of those things, right? So if you want to have something like that, then it is not directly available through that list view. Then you need to install something called as a plugin called nested view. So when you install it, you will get an option wherein, like I showed you previously, right? You will get this. Now, if you want to try this, let's see how this works. So the same thing I'll say now, I'll say product X, okay? And I'll say nested view. And now it's just going to ask you what is the kind of view that you need. By default, I just want only one folder. So I'll say apply. Okay. Now, once you apply, if you see, it has created just an empty folder wherein you can add anything that you want. So now if I want, you can actually go ahead and add some more here. And here now I'll add one list to you. Okay, if not, I can add one more.
ఏమో అంటే వాడు మళ్ళీ ఎందుకు చెకింగ్ కని చూస్తారు కదా అని.
So here what I'll do is I'll simply now add it something like what I said. So now I'll say test. Okay, or I'll say test type. So in this test jobs, maybe I'll say, you know, project A, project B, something like this. Okay, now I'll go back here. See, you got, if you want, you can actually add one more new view here. And again, I'll say list and I'll say production. And I can add these two. So if you see, actually, if you come back and see how it looks, this is how it will be looking. So if you want to go, if you go to the products as a separate view, this view again internally has two more views. So if you want to go for the test jobs, if you click this, you will be seeing only this. If not, if you want to go to the production, you'll be seeing only this production jobs. Getting it? Hello. So these, as I said, views are nothing but a simple way wherein you can segregate or group a list of jobs based on your interest, and you will be working only onto that. So rather than going through all those jobs and viewing, you can just segregate a group like this.
Okay, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
So actually, I want to ask that if any particular node is there, so we want defined by the node, so we can manage by the nodes, na?
What
That particular
nodes?
job will be defined on particular node. There
What
is
do
listing of the there is listing of processes or jobs.
Mhm.
So I want listing by the nodes.
Nodes, how do you say? What if the node itself is down? You will be picking up some other node. Then
Yes.
if, see, until now server Y is down, that is why server X is being picked. What if tomorrow server X is down and server Y is up? Then this will be picked. So how will you point out to this server or the node?
No. Actually, I want asking that which job have completed on which node.
Mhm.
So where from I can see.
Oh yeah, that you will get all this list here because right now you don't have anything running. So if you literally see in the production here, it will be showing you all the details of everything that is running. Yeah, you don't have a straightforward way to get it, but whenever a job is running, it will be displaying you under that particular node wherever it is running, the status, what it is doing, or which job it is picking and it is running.
Okay.
Getting that? So So the important thing here is it's not about setting up view. So now let me show you what is plugins. Okay. So until now I was telling you plugins, plugins, plugins. So in Jenkins, the other important thing is plugins, wherein everything what we do is being driven by plugins because any new tool that you want to work on is basically through plugins. So for that, in the Jenkins, go to manage Jenkins and manage plugins, or simply go here and in this go to manage plugins. Okay, you'll be landing up with a page like this wherein forget about the updates. Okay, there are two options wherein it's called available and installed. Okay, so by default installed is the place where it will be showing you all the plugins that your installation currently has. Okay, wherein whenever you install some version of Jenkins, by default, some plugins will come along with it. Okay, and after that, you have to install some plugins based on your interest. What is that you want to work on? So if you see here in this, for certain plugins, you see an uninstall option, and for many of them, you don't see a uninstall option. So that means all those plugins which has uninstall are those plugins which we or the user has installed, wherein all those doesn't have uninstall are the default plugins which comes with the installation of the Jenkins itself. Okay, so in that case, if you remember, I told you in the first class I installed a plugin for Git. So this is the plugin. Okay, so like that, we would have installed a nested view plugin. See, this is the plugin what I was just referring to you some time back. So like this, any specific plugin that you install for some purpose of for creating some processes, then all those plugins will be listed here wherein it will be showing a uninstall option. Okay, so other than that, any plugin what you see here are the default plugins. So now, if you want to know what are the available plugins and if you want to install a new plugin to work on some new feature, then go to the available and you can see it will be having tons of plugins. Okay, so all you have to do is check, is there a particular plugin that you are looking for? So it's not like there is a no straightforward answer saying that how do I know what plugin I should use? That is the only practice that you will get by experience. So we cannot just directly say that, yeah, this is the plugin, this is the plugin, because every day someone or the other one would be writing new plugins. Since it is a open source, people will be putting in so many plugins. So all you have to do is just search here whether is there a particular plugin that you want to work against a tool, or you want to do some particular task. Is there any plugin associated with it? Okay, so you can search and you can get the information about specific plugin here. Suppose if you don't know and if you want a quick search, then you can do a quick search here also. Suppose if you see, I don't know what and all are the plugins available for Git. So simply if you come here and type in the filter for that string, it will display you all the existing plugins against that matching string name. So from that, you can choose whatever plugin that you want to use and say that, okay, just for demonstration, I'll pick one. Which one do I pick? Okay. So I'll choose this plugin called Green Balls. So what this will do is, until now, if you have noticed, every time when a build successfully completes, there will be a blue color ball that it runs, right? So instead of that, if you want to change it to some other color like green, typically success means green color is what we always represent. So if you want to change into that, then you can use this option. Okay, say that I want to install this plugin, then you click onto this and there are two options for you to use. Now, do you want to use it now or do you want to use it later? So how do you say that you want to use it now? So whenever you install a plugin, what will happen is this corresponding plugin will be downloaded and it will be copied to a folder where Jenkins is installed. Okay, but Jenkins will not recognize that plugin because it has been installed newly. So what you have to do is, it is nothing but actually like an application server it is running behind. So you need to restart. Only then when you restart, it will go through all the plugins again. And when it goes through all those plugins, it will go through the new plugin which has also been installed, so that this plugin, whatever it is being installed, will also pick it up. So it is very much important that we have to restart once we have downloaded the plugin. Suppose if you don't want to restart now, because in the production it is not so easy to do, because there will be so many other jobs running, you cannot just blindly restart it. So you need to wait for some time, and when people are not working, then you can set up a time for the for the down time, and then you can say that I'm going to reboot at this particular point of time. So now for our demo, I can simply say that download now and install it after restart. So like this, you can pick which plugin you want to install. And suppose, let me show you one more page. Okay, so like this page will list you all the plugins which is available in the open source market for you to use. So you can pick which one to install and which one to work on to that. Okay, suppose if you want some plugin which is available with the latest version, so say that you have installed some plugin and which has an older version, and currently in the open source community they have modified some changes and they have added a new version. And if you want to upgrade your existing plugin with that version, then you just choose the same thing and go ahead with installing with restarting or without restarting. So like that you can choose options whether you want to do or you just want to use with an existing one. So in case in the production you will not be allowed to do the updates, but for practicing you can do it. Because why I'm saying is, in production, if you see, you are not actually going to just download and install on your local server. It will be a production server. So you will be restricted to download over the firewall to, generally get some things and install. If not, it will be so easy for anyone to just play around with it, right? So in the production, you will not be allowed to install. But in case if there's just a question where you want to know how it is, just come here and see how it looks, so that you can know. Suppose if you don't know what is a plugin, what it does, you can simply click on that and it will take you to a Jenkins page, but that is not working right now. Let us take some other. Okay, the Jenkins page itself is not working. It's supposed to work. Anyway, I'll show you in some time. I'm not sure. Okay, I'll show you in some time. I'm not sure whether Jenkins itself is down or because we're updating it, it's not showing. But anyway, when you click on this individual plugins, it'll take you to a reference page wherein it'll give you details of what is that plugin, what is it used for, how to use all those details. It'll be there. I'll show you in some time. But other than that, are you guys getting it now? See, uh, the Jenkins, that plugin, whatever we installed, it's been downloaded. And once it's completed the download, now it is trying to restart. So once it gets restarted, whatever plugin that you have put will be coming into the picture, and wherever that it has to apply, it'll apply and it'll start using. Suppose if you're using some other plugin for working purpose, so the next time when you go to the configuration page of the respective job, then you will be seeing that new option about what plugin that you have installed is present or not. Hello. Jenkins is getting ready. Okay, see this? Until now, all these things were blue color. Now it turned to be green color. So that is the plugin that we have used. It's just a simple plugin because some people say that in Japan or some other place they where this was created, I mean the Jenkins was created, they believe the street lights, right, that are the traffic lights what we have, it's blue means is go for them. So that's what symbol represents. But in our country we do have different colors. So that is what people will not be convenient with a few of things. So if you want, you can change it like that. So now if you see, we have this installed, and now let me refresh this page. Okay, and if you go to the installed, here if you see green balls and it is say, it is, you can see uninstall option. This means that this is a plugin which we have installed for our use case. So like this, you can pick a particular plugin and install it based on what need you need, because unless and until you're installing it, you'll not be getting that plugin. You're getting it? So in order to install, plugin manager is the place, or manage plugins is the place where you need to choose which plugin you want to install and work on specific plugin. So correspondingly, after rebooting it, it will be appearing in the respective place wherever it has to come. Getting it? Hello?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Sneha, Asim, any doubts? Yeah, that's what I said, right? So if you go to manage Jenkins, there are certain default plugins that it comes, because all those things that you're currently working is based on plugin. So if you see here, all those things which you don't see uninstall option are the default plugins which is available. So if you remember when we were creating jobs, it was asking you some options for CVS and we didn't install anything. Actually, we installed only Git plugin because I had already installed Git plugin, because it will take some time if I show you the installation of this itself in the clients. But in the SCM tab, when you're creating a job, it was showing you a SCM tab, right? In that, you had options for CVS, you had options for Git, wherein Git is what we installed. What about the others? All those things were default. So anything here that you don't see uninstalled, then it is meant as default that has been given by the Jenkins installation. You get that? Sim, did you get that? Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I got it.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so fine. Now, okay. the the last thing which you need to know from Jenkins is, again, uh, when you go to a production, you might be or you might not be working as an administrator, but majority of the time you'll not be working as an administrator. But what you need to know is, now until now we were seeing from the jobs how you work, but in reality in the production you will not be given permission for doing everything, which means you as a user should be able to run only the job, right? Suppose, say that you're joining a new team and I want you to just run some job and test it and verify, that's it. So in that case, I should not be giving you permission to delete the job or to configure the job, or basically I should not allow you to modify the job, right? Because your task should be only to run the job. And at the same thing, you should not be able to modify any of the node configurations. So in that case, how do you do? That is one of the important thing, because when you go to a company and when you're working on this Jenkins specifically, you will not be seeing all these options like what you're seeing. That might be happening because it depends on what privileges they are giving it to you. Okay, so in that case, what you should really understand is there are some options through which they give you permissions on what you can do and what you cannot do. Again, the second thing is, yeah, okay, I do agree permissions and all. Then how is the permissions given? The permissions are given with respect to the user. Okay, then if you see, until now, we didn't literally use any kind of user authentication. What we did was we just used this IP address and some port number, but the default port number 8080, and we started working. But again, in the production, you will be actually logging into this. So what is the difference between logging in and by default you're coming in? So if you don't have user access, then what will happen? Anyone can come here and work on everything, right? So in that case, first thing what you need to do is you have to set up a user authentication. Okay. And then second, based on the user, you need to give permission saying that this user has only this permission, this user has only this permission. Okay, now for that, what we have to do is you have to set up a user authentication, because remember, when you go to the company and if you are asked to do something, you will not have any permission. So you have to ask the respective administrator who is maintaining the Jenkins and ask him to add your username to that corresponding job for whatever task that you want to do. Say that you want to modify some job and you don't have permission. First thing you have to ask is go to the administrators and ask him that give me all the privileges for this job so that I can work around. Okay, that is the first thing that you should be doing. So to just have an understanding, how do we do? So the first thing, let's go to manage plugins, and here you have something called as global security configuration. So if you go this, here you can say you want to enable security, you can enable security, and you can give the options based on that. Suppose if you don't want, you can just simply choose what kind of data that you want to set it up and work onto it. Now the question comes here is, how will you set it up? Okay, now in order to give user authentication, there are multiple ways that you can do. Jenkins by default has its own database wherein it can store certain usernames and passwords based on which you can give access to particular people or a particular group. So here if you see, we have this option wherein you can create a user for an account, and then based on that you can give them a username and password. But that will not be the right solution, because first thing is you don't know how many users will be using. So for every user you have to create a separate username and password or account, and you have to maintain them. Second thing is, now like this, if there are so many other tools available, then the user has to logically create different accounts, right? As a company, it will not be looking good for the individual. So what they do is they have something called as SSO, that is single sign-on, or they have something called as LDAP server. So what the purpose, I mean, what does this do is that rather than having multiple accounts, you can use your default company's ID. That is, for every employee, when you log in, there will be one default user ID using which you will be logging into the laptop or to the computer in the office. Okay, that is your user ID, because you will be giving your they'll be giving you a particular laptop to work on, or a desktop. Desktop is actually rolled out. So in that case, in order for you to log in and work, there will be one common user ID that will be registered throughout the company. Okay. Now, what they will do is you have to use the same user ID and password to connect to any kind of application within the company. Now, how is that possible is because they will have something called as LDAP server configured. So what will happen is whenever if you configure your Jenkins to this LDAP server, and there'll be a default login page appearing. Now, when it appears, now whatever information that you type in this Jenkins page, it will be taken to the LDAP server, and in the LDAP server, it will be verified whether you have the username and password there. And if you have, it will be verified and it will be rerouted back to the Jenkins. So in that case, you can have a single username password which the company has already given it to you, and the same thing can be used to verify it here also. Okay, so that you don't have to have a separate username and password. So in the production, this is what they'll be using, because you won't be creating multiple user accounts. So again, here, if you are interested to do this, because as I said, this will be taken care by the system administrator separately. If not, you need to go to the respective system administrator, not the Jenkins administrator. I mean to say the system administrator. Get him the details of where is the LDAP server for the company, and in that LDAP server, what are the configurations? You need to get them. What is the base from where all the users information is being stored, and get them the value and store it here. And once you put all these details here, Jenkins will be connected to the LDAP, and the next time when you just restart it, what will happen? For every users, there will be a login page. So when you log in into that, you will be routed to the LDAP server, wherein whatever username and password that you type will be verified there, routed it, and it will be sent back to the Jenkins, so that when you come back, you will be working as the user who has logged in. Getting that? Okay, so you don't have to worry too much about this. It's just for understanding, I'm saying, because if you go to a production, you shouldn't just think, oh, what is it? Until now, I just went to this 8080 port and it was working, but right now it is not working. So that's the reason I'm just trying to tell you. So they will by default create this account for you and it should work. Okay, now what's the next important thing I said is, okay, so you will be working on the account. Okay, user account is done, but how do you say this user has this permission, this user has this permission, he doesn't have this permission? Now, coming for that, here, if you see in the authorization, you don't worry about what you're going to use here. Okay, you just I'm just removing this option. You don't have to click this, but just to minimize those other options I'm done. So in the authentication, if you see, there is something called as matrix based security, right? So here, if you come to this place, what you have to do is whoever is maintaining the Jenkins basically has to do this. Now, what he will do is he will basically add a username like this. Okay, now whoever user who is already working, he will just add a user. Now this will be the user ID that has been given to you by the company. So what they'll do is they'll just add it, and once the user is added, then they can give what are the options that he want to work. Suppose if I want to give you the complete administrator privilege, then I can just click on like this, wherein as the name indicates here, if you see, I have the complete control about administration and configuration of everything that might be Node, the Jenkins master itself, or the jobs itself. Okay. On the other side, suppose if you want to work around with the plugins, if you want to update some plugin and all those things, again, you can choose what option that you want to give and what option you don't want to give. And here, suppose say that if I'm interested for you to just only view the job and run, then I can say, suppose if I say this, then you will be able to only build the jobs and nothing. Okay, and if I click on this configure, then you are able to configure, or you will be able to configure. If not, what will happen? The configure option itself will not appear for you. Okay, in the same way, are you allowed to create a new job, delete it, things like that, everything you can choose. Okay, and now specifically to run and to view a job, and finally for the SEM related activities, do you have option to modify those, everything that you can modify. Okay, so what a system administrator or the Jenkins administrator specifically would do is he has to add the username, and specifically it will be doing. So this is the only thing they will be doing, wherein this doesn't matter because it will be working corresponding to the user ID who has logged in and worked in. So suppose if there is a user ID called Adam and who is working, immediately this rule will apply to that user whoever is working. Okay, so it is pretty much important, because if you guys are practicing, don't try this immediately. I mean, you can try this, but ensure that you have a proper username and password created and then try. If not, what will happen? If you didn't give all this permission and by default you just gave this and come back, it will be difficult for you to once again go inside it. Okay, but other than that, this is how it will be, wherein all the users will be added, and respective to them, whatever options they have to give, they'll be adding it together here. Okay, and it's the same thing. Whenever you don't want, you just simply go ahead and delete it. It's simple, wherein what you need to understand is the access to the particular configurations of the jobs and nodes will be given through this place called metrics based security, wherein you can choose which one to give, which one not to give. So based on this, whatever options that we gave will be coming over here. Forget about that, I've just messed up some configuration. See what happened? You did something and you'll be asking for login password, it will not work. Now gone case. What will you do? Now it is asking me to create an account if you don't remember. So let me create an account.
Adam, you're creating this account in Jenkins database, right?
Yes.
Okay. And there
There
was
you
one
go.
more option, some servlet thing. Whoa.
That's again for configuration. And I mean, basically, we will not be. That's more of old ways what people used to log in. But right now, since we have LDAP, no one prefers anything else. Like I said, you can store 2,000, 3,000 IDs with just LDAP, because LDAP is storing all the user information from the company, right? So we don't have to separately do all those configurations. Yeah, you can use it, and if not, you can use it. But like I said, it all depends on what they are using. And since we are going in the companies would have moved completely to SSO now. So that's the reason they don't want anything to be on older, because they already implemented something and they can just uh, leverage the same for other tools like that. If not, like I said, for every tool, if they keep creating an account for the user, then the users will start shouting saying that I cannot remember so many accounts for each tool. Is that clear? Hello? Okay, so that's something which you need to know from Jenkins. Nothing specific other